Welcome back to JSA TV. We are live from London for DCD Connect right here at the Business Design Center in Islington in the beautiful city of London. I'm Buffy Harakitis of JSA, and joining me today for our very first interview of day 2 of DCD Connect is Alex Brew of Vertev. He is the Regional Director of Northern Europe here live for day 2. So welcome, Alex.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the conference floor is already buzzing. There's a line over there at the coffee station. We are here on the east balcony of day 2 here at DCD Connect. And AI is obviously one of the hottest topics in the industry, and especially here at this conference. So why don't we dive into the first question where we talk about AI and the massive changes that it is causing across the industry, and some of those requirements when it comes to the requirements of the data center. Why don't we talk about how Vertev is adapting its infrastructure solutions to meet these growing demands?
Sure. So I think there's so many things to it.
Yes, so many.
Obviously, the biggest one is probably liquid cooling. We've been talking about that for quite some time now, but we know that AI applications are significantly more dense. They consume more power. There's more compute that customers of various different profiles are trying to get into any one given rack. And with that higher power consumption comes a higher density of compute, which means we need far more efficient and higher density cooling systems. So through our own in-house development, strategic acquisitions that we've made in the last 18 months, we've brought to market a really comprehensive portfolio of liquid cooling solutions. We're seeing the most demand at the moment in CDUs, but we're also manufacturing our own immersive, as well as other more hybridized type systems to kind of cater for each and every application that the market is looking to present. Vertev's ethos from a sort of product standpoint is never to unify ourselves on one particular type of technology within a given field. Customers are so diverse in terms of their requirements, and we have to be able to cater and consult with them to understand what the right solutions are for their specific needs, and then leverage the benefits of our service and project delivery offerings to support them in those types of deployments. So liquid cooling is very much there, but now really we're seeing advancements beyond that. If we talk about the powertrain, the densities that we're having to accommodate in terms of power distribution to the rack themselves, the suites of software that we need to be providing in terms of governance and management of all of this type of technology, the criticality of it is super high. That hasn't changed, right? The applications are becoming more diverse. AI is presenting, new options to our customers in terms of how they want to run their businesses, but they will become and will be equally business critical. So what we're having to do as an organization is to keep up with the speed at which it's evolving, is really standardize on complete solutions. So we've launched the 360 AI platform, which is a suite of not just cooling products for AI or power products for AI, but it's actually complete turnkey solutions. And we're developing that offering with our partners to bring to market so that customers can basically capitalize and take advantage of AI for their businesses sooner. That's going to take different shapes and forms between, the co-location markets, the enterprise markets, more industrial-based applications, whatever it may be. But what we've invested in, again, is a strength in that portfolio to complement everyone's ambitions within the space.
Right. And when it comes to these solutions, and especially the growing requirements for power to support AI workloads, tell me a little bit more about the sustainability angle that you guys are working on when it comes to sustainability and some of those innovations, especially when we talk about greener data and how the industry is moving forward to be more sustainable.
It's a really interesting point, right? Because the way that AI has burst onto the scene, it's not displacing some of the original and pre-existing compute loads that were there, right? It's a brand new tier of compute. And we know that society and businesses can stand to benefit from it in the long run, but it will be burdening, the utility networks with a lot more power utilization. So, but what it brings with it, and what our technology is working to also capitalize on, is opportunity to embrace far more holistic, circular economy-led operational practices for data centers. And part of that is because of the byproducts that data centers produce, particularly those that are supporting higher density applications. So If we talk about liquid cooling as an example, liquid cooling traditionally now will be operating at higher temperatures within the data center, which means the byproduct of waste that is what we spend all that time trying to get rid of, the power that these servers are consuming is exhausted as heat, and the cooling systems are there to get rid of that heat. Well, that heat's more useful because it's hotter. It's something that we can take and expend less energy on to either interface with district heating systems or to use as a byproduct for fueling greenhouse farming or for coupling with industrial applications, whatever it may be. The key kind of segue on that is making sure that the development of these sites is close coupled with other types of facilities. This is something that needs to be orchestrated in a lot of instances by local governments when it comes to planning consensus and everything else to kind of capitalize on it. If data centers just develop in isolation, then it's a missed opportunity, it's a missed window. The cooling part's kind of quite well known now, but I think the other piece is also the power kind of sustainability angle. So we've done a lot of work with dynamic grid support. Our UPS systems are often an energy center. They're the kind of interface in terms of power management within the data center. And what we've done is look to connect that with the utility grid provision. So we can do dynamic grid support by way of frequency regulation or peak lopping. And what that means from a sustainability point of view is that the UPS can manage all these power reserves that exist inside a data center, and it can interface with the grid. And when the grid needs a little bit of support to regulate frequency or for the data center to isolate itself to save it having to utilize a less sustainable power generation source to meet with the demand, the UPS can do that. The data center can do that. Data centers have huge power reserves, right. And so our technology is providing mechanisms to use those in terms of more sustainable practices. So we see big advancements in that arena, far more uptake coming from the industry now as it's more recognized. And then the other thing is actually looking at on-site backup power. So diesel generators, there's now a bit more of a move to more greener fuels, but also we've been looking at how we can interface the powertrain with the likes of hydrogen fuel cells, for example. So we had a partnership with Ballard that was launched or announced earlier this year, and that's all about the use of HFO or HFC as a backup power generation and the particularities that we need to cater for in terms of how those technologies interface. But that's definitely one to look out for as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely important that more and more operators look at some of these alternative energy solutions, especially as sustainability continues to push to the forefront.
The challenge we have in terms of our own sustainable practices is often driven around supply chain, right? So it's the embodied carbon associated with our products.
Exactly.
We have a very large, diverse, globalized supply chain, and globally different regions are more advanced in terms of their kind of recognition of the need to conform and to improve. And our customers are holding us to account on that, and so we're holding our suppliers to account on that, right? And that trickle effect is certainly gaining momentum. And then we're seeing changes in terms of how we're developing products. So we launched the TimberMod platform, which is our prefabricated solution. And instead of using traditional construction methodologies for prefab, we're now using timber, which is a regenerative product. It's more sustainable by definition. And we're starting to see the industry accepting these types of practices, which is great. So things are definitely moving forward.
Great. Definitely moving forward, especially here in London. The conversations are all around how the industry is moving forward to be more sustainable and to meet these growing demands of AI. And you mentioned that you were going to be on a panel just in a few minutes. So why don't you tell viewers a little bit more about that panel? And if you are here at the show, to be sure to catch Alex on the panel coming up.
It's really interesting. It's a cohort, and what it's doing is bringing representatives from all different corners of the industry. So we have co-location operators, end users, manufacturers, contractors, consultants, the whole ecosystem. And the idea behind the panel is to look at what level of collaboration, transparency, and alignment is really required to advance data centers into a true net zero space. So we'll be looking at how we define what net zero is in the context of data centers, and then whatever the individual roles, the collaboration and the alignment or conflicting agendas that we need to address to help kind of pioneer more net zero practices or kind of steer us more down that path. So it should be a really good discussion.
Yeah, it sounds like it. A critical discussion for sure. So if you're at the show, be sure to catch Alex on that panel coming up just in a few minutes. And thank you, viewers, for tuning in to another episode of JSA TV. live from DCD Connect London. And if viewers want to learn more about Vertiv, can you tell them where to go?
Vertiv.com.
Vertiv.com.
Yeah, we've got all our information there, and please, by all means, feel free to reach out to me as well.
And thank you so much, Alex, for joining us for JSA TV. Viewers, stay curious, stay connected, and happy networking.
You know, the main point of the chapter is that sustainability is not simple. It is a complicated problem, and it requires comprehensive solutions. And we need to make sure that while we're finding solutions and implementing them, we do it without exacerbating other problems or creating new ones. So I think if I had to boil it down to the three takeaways, the first one is that we're all in it together. The solutions that we pursue, they have to work for everyone globally, not just our industry or not just a particular player. We need to find holistic, comprehensive solutions. You know, the other one, like I said, we can't break something else. There's 17 SDGs, or Sustainable Development Goals. There's 9 planetary boundaries, and we have to keep our eye on all of them. And I think really at the very bottom line, the simplest way to become more sustainable is to take less and make less, and therefore we waste less.
If somebody reads my chapter, the most important thing that they should really take away from it is this micro to macro approach. Really looking at data centers and sustainability in data centers as a holistic thing, as opposed to just individual products or individual isolated systems. Really taking a broader view, and in fact, that micro to macro approach, even those small individual items that really one doesn't think of as having a significant impact on an isolated basis, really begin to snowball and add up and have a broader impact on a programmatic basis.
There are two defining trends of our time: digitization and sustainability. So on the one hand, everything that can be digitized will be digitized, driving a huge amount of data and need for compute. On the other hand, we have a rapidly evolving climate crisis, with governments, businesses, individuals needing to take urgent action to curb emissions. The data center sits at the intersection of these megatrends. It's where digital transformation meets the climate crisis head-on. So every time we as consumers go online, we do our banking, we do our online shopping, we stream a TV series, a process starts in a data center. If this data center is power hungry, coal-fired, energy inefficient, and lets excess heat into the atmosphere, then we are contributing to climate change, and most likely unknowingly, all of us. My chapter starts with a personal story of when I tried to explain what I do at work to my young daughter, and failing miserably in getting her remotely interested. I finally managed to capture her interest when we got into a discussion on how watching My Little Pony on her iPad started a process in a data center that recycled the excess heat from the servers to warm the radiators in our home in snowy Stockholm. So the first part of my chapter looks at digital infrastructure through the eyes of a child and helps land how being a part of this industry affords us an opportunity to, in my daughter's words, help the world become a better place. So in my chapter, I also zoom in on innovation that is transforming the data center industry, how the digital data explosion fuels the need for high density data centers, and why modern data centers need to have heat reuse, circular economy principles, innovative cooling, and work in tandem with the climate. These are all existing industry innovations that are starting to be deployed at large scale. I use some of Nordic data centers to give real examples in the chapter. Lastly, I also zoom out and look at what factors that can accelerate innovation, accelerate change. And I believe that customers, so the buyers of data centers, and consumers, so anyone who consumes digital services, will increasingly act as change agents and accelerate the shift towards greener data.
Yeah, so what I've written about in Greener Data really touches on the substantive changes that the free market, in my view, can be making to impact the cleanliness of our environment, and how imperative it is that the IT industry, in particular with all the advanced applications that are coming online, leverages some of the new technologies with cooling, in particular liquid cooling and immersion. The spoiler alert is that, in my view, the tech industry can do more right now than it is doing, and probably more than most other industries in the immediate, that could have a material impact on a greener environment.
My chapter discusses the evolution and innovation of data center technology at Flexential. We focus on how we are shaping the future of data centers through advanced power and cooling strategies. It highlights really the importance of data centers in today's era of digital transformation, in particular in meeting the high performance computing demands of AI and machine learning workloads.
Everyone, and welcome back to JSA TV, where we're coming to you today live on day 2 of DCD Connect here in London. And I'm joined by Ian Wilkinson, who is the Channel Sales Manager, Data Centers for Relco. Relco. And we can say Relco because if we had chatted earlier this week,
Yep.
I would have introduced you as Kohler Energy, but that's changed. So tell us about that. Kohler Energy is now Relco.
We're now Relco. I mean, I guess historically, as under the Kohler Energy brand, of course, or group, we are now, as we're working going forward as an independent under an investment company. So we're really excited about the opportunity. I think that opens up for us, and I guess from a realistic perspective, we are an energy division. We were an energy division within Kohler, so none of that really changes. We're just doing it as an independent under a different investment arm, I guess.
Okay, yeah, and I mean, so it feels like big news, but it's really semantics in a way where, a change of brand, some new energy though into the business.
I guess, because I think when you, brand is of course, it's really important to send strong messages out to the market.
Yeah.
But you work with your colleagues, you work on your products, you work with your customers, and again, without repeating myself, that doesn't change. We're going to get up and do exactly the same thing, but like you say, with hopefully a bit more excitement.
And so, in sort of another focus that I wanted to talk about is just another thing that you've been doing for a long time, but have sort of accelerated, and that is your latest initiative around the environmental product declaration. And so I say not new because I know Kohler Energy, which is now Relco, you've been focused on sustainability for a long time.
Yeah, of course.
So tell us about this latest initiative.
Yeah, so I guess it builds on what we've done in the past. For example, we were the first generator manufacturer in the world to approve the use of HVO across the board with our machines. And of course, we did that because of customers. Customers demand that. Were demanding that from us. And this is the next stage. We are the first manufacturer to publish the EPDs. So the clients, again, specifiers, customers, and users, they've been coming to us for probably a couple of years, asking us for our CO2 impact. And it's, how can I put it? It's complicated, right? I mean, we've actually done it to an ISO standard, ISO 42025, I believe, and we've actually done the more rigorous version of that. So it's the Type 3. So it's literally from extracting the raw material from the ground right through its life cycle. Even can you believe even delivering the product, the packaging that's used, and how that can be recycled, the fuel that it uses during its lifetime. And ultimately, when it's at the end of its life, which could be as much as 40 years, the actual recycling and how much of that machine, if you like, can be recycled. And I think we believe that we can recycle about 60% of that machine after 40 years. Yeah. So it's something that we know. I guess our customers are driving towards net zero, and of course, the first thing that they need to do is measure their total impact, and and obviously the scope 3 is a big part of that, and we're part of that scope 3 for them. So we're giving them the information that they need.
Yeah, and such a, I want to say brave, but also just a sign of a real commitment to the importance of this to the industry as a whole, to your customers, that you're able to take these measures to be able to provide this information for your clients.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really important. Yeah. And like I say, it's something that I think we all have a responsibility, a personal responsibility, and I guess, and I think when you work for a company or with a company that has those wants that shares the same view as you, I think that kind of it sort of works its way through the whole organisation. I think that's really important.
Yeah, that is. And so in addition to this, the product declaration, are there other initiatives around sustainability that you can share?
Yeah, I mean, one thing again that we've been talking to our customers about recently in the last sort of 12 months is about it. We call it conscious care, which is an operational, a way of operating your machines. And again, these are, our machines are in standby. It's providing standby power, so they're not the primary source of power for the data center. So they're sitting in there in standby mode, and our customers, if you like, exercise those machines on a regular basis, because clearly they want to know if they have a power outage that those machines will start and take the load of the data center. But quite often the machines are exercised when they don't need to be exercised. The analogy I always use is, I guess, you don't start your car on a Sunday night knowing you want to go to work on it on a Monday.
Right.
We kind of know it's going to start.
Yeah. We hope it will. Yeah.
Well, it will.
Yes.
I mean, it will. With good maintenance.
Right.
And so we've been talking to our customers over the last 12 months about, as long as, we'll help you understand the health of that machine. You don't actually have to start it to understand that it will start. And we help them with things like condition monitoring of the batteries, the fuel system, and so they've got so they don't feel as though they need to switch that machine on just to see if it will start or not. And of course that you don't lose fuel, so your carbon impact again is lower, right? Even when these machines don't run, and we don't want them. It sounds a crazy thing to say, but we don't want them to run.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Now, I understand during the show we mentioned Stay 2, and I think later today, is it, that you're recording a podcast?
I am.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I'm going to be doing it on a similar topic, actually.
Okay,
I'm doing it on the PEP, on the Eco Passport.
Makes sense, yeah.
So it's quite a big stage, I've noticed down.
It is a big stage. Yeah, it's a great venue, I think. Have you been enjoying the show?
It's been a great show.
Successful.
Yeah.
That's
a lot of, I guess you always get the name, then they look at the guys on the stand and go,
wait a minute, yeah. Yeah.
And you see the
right.
So yes. Of course, that takes time.
That's part of the retraining, the re-educating the market, right?
Yeah, but it's great. I mean, it's something, like I say, something to talk about. It's it gives you an opportunity to explain your business.
Right.
Maybe.
It gives you something new to talk about, I guess,
absolutely.
Right? Yeah. So sort of as we wrap up here, then any sort of forward thinking. I mean, we've been talking a lot about all of the areas that you're focused on, especially around sustainability. But as you look forward, what do you think's the most important for the industry and for Relco to be focused on in the future?
I think it's our product will continue to develop for sure.
Yeah.
We're in a fortunate position. We have a really good generator platform, if you like, to build on, and we will continue to, produce less emissions. We will continue to improve performance. We'll improve the way that we monitor engines, and the amount of information that we'll give access to, if you like, to the customer too. So they've got that. They understand our product better. But really, I guess it's just about getting more out of the same product in reality. So that'll be the next. I think we know that the demand of data centers will continue to grow, and the amount of space that they'll consume will become small or become more and more challenged. So that's part of answering that conundrum, as it were.
Yeah. So my last question for you is, how can people find you now? Has that changed? I mean, you're here, obviously, so people hopefully can see you and come see you speak later. But how can they find you after
obviously,
today?
I'm on the booth today. So booth 14, I believe. So come and see us. Yeah. And I'd love to come talk to us about your generator needs.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure to connect with you, and congratulations on the rebrand and all of the work that you've been doing and continue to do, you and your team.
Thanks
so thank you. And thank you to our viewers for tuning in again to JSA TV live here today at DCD Connect in London. Until next time.
The chapter, deals into the realm of the green data centers, addressing the imperative of balancing technologies expansion with environmental responsibility. It emphasizes the necessity of transitional towards the sustainable practices to mitigate the environmental impact of data centers. We have talked about few strategies, including optimizing the energy efficient infrastructure, harnessing renewable energy sources, overcoming the challenges such as high initial cost and legacy infrastructure. There, we also incorporated few case studies where we highlight how successful implementation eventually helped the organization to bring all those sustainability initiatives within the business and demonstrate the successful benefits, including cost reduction as well as decreased carbon emissions.
Yeah. So the key takeaways for the chapter, I was so excited to be able to participate in this project. I mean, first and foremost, sustainability is one of the core values that we have here at DartPoint. So this is not only important to us from a as we evolve as a data center operator, but it's truly important to us as a company that we contribute as we think about the impacts that our business has on the environment and how we can always look to improve that and be more competitive. But the title of my chapter is really the interconnect domain between finance, sustainability, and innovation. And I was so excited to get that as our title because it really covers the entire ecosystem end to end as it relates to the data center sector and the impacts that the data center sector is having on the environment. And really, the four key takeaways that I would identify in our chapter are really first and foremost is growth that the sector is experiencing. When you think about data demand and you think about where data centers sit in the ecosystem, right? We're at the core of what drives that data demand, not only today, but these enormous future projections, right? The ecosystems that we create in our facilities are really the drivers that enable all that. So that's one, right? How sustainable is that going forward, and what are the impacts on the environment, given just the enormous power demand that our ecosystems create, and particularly when you think about the tailwinds of AI and machine learning type opportunities, that demand only exponentially grows. The second point, really, in our chapter is really about capital. Right? We're a business that requires an enormous amount of capital to continue to grow. We are a capital intensive business. And the chapter that we were able to participate in really addresses the impact of capital coming into the industry, the impact of sustainability, and particularly around the new entrants of capital coming into the market and how they want to focus capital being deployed in a very sustainable way. And so we really address that. I'm excited about the impacts that's having on the industry. The third one is innovation, right? That's what DartPoints is all about. We consider ourselves really to be thought leaders in the industry, right? We want to be perceived as innovators. When you think about sustainability, and I mentioned the power demand in the industry, generally people tend to just kind of think about alternative power sources, whether that's wind or whether it's other types of power solutions that are being talked about. But when you really understand what's going on within the data center ecosystem, that's just one component, right? Design, processes, tools, procedures, technology, right? How you become very efficient through advanced technology and innovation. All of that end-to-end ecosystem really comes into play when you begin to think about sustainability within the data center sector, and how do you really maximize the benefit that we can have on the environment. And then, of course, the last one of the key learning is the customer, right? That is clearly an environment where if you want to be relevant as a data center provider, not only today, but in the future, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road, you have to evolve your thinking, the way we build our platforms, the way we deploy our platforms, all has to have a mindset of sustainability, because customers today, whether you're engaging in a prospective discussion as they look at you as a potential partner, or they're a customer in your existing environment, they're demanding solutions that are environmentally friendly. And if you want to continue to do business with them, you've got to be able to deliver and demonstrate that that's a direction you're developing and evolving your company. So those are really the 4 key takeaways and the 4 areas that we focus on within our chapter within the book.
Welcome to JSA TV, where we're covering the latest stories, trends, and innovations from leaders in the digital infrastructure industry from DCD Connect live in London. And joining me today is Stephen Carlini. He is the Chief Advocate of Data Center and AI of Schneider Electric. Stephen, welcome.
Well, great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you here today. And we are at DCD Connect.
We are.
Day 2 in London. The floor is absolutely buzzing here. And coming up just in a few minutes, you will be a part of the DCD Talk segment called AI and the Changing Energy Landscape. Such an important topic, especially as the Chief Advocate of Data Center and AI, to be speaking on that panel. So why don't you tell viewers that are tuning in today what attendees will learn from that session?
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting and very top of mind segment. You know, when I started in the data center industry, which was a little bit ago, data centers weren't even showing up on the radar for utility power usage. Now, with AI and the digital economy requiring more and more data center capacity and more automation from AI, there is a lot of data center construction going on to support that. Mainly in what we're calling training, AI training. So we're seeing these large language models or models that are being trained to be able to automate things like ChatGPT-4 that generates AI, but there's also process automation, medical diagnostics, things like that are AI applications that need these models to be able to run.
Yeah, so who else will be on that panel with you today?
Oh, it's just me.
Oh, okay.
It's
well, that's
me. It's
even
a
better.
fireside chat. So.
Yeah, so if you are at the show, be sure to check that fireside chat out, just coming up in a few minutes.
In a few minutes, yes.
And well, let's talk a little bit more about AI. I mean, obviously, it's the hottest topic in our industry today. And this conference, just about all the tracks and booths here, they're talking about AI. Let's dive a little bit more into how do data centers need to adapt to meet these growing demands of AI, such a critical topic that we're hearing about day in and day out.
Yeah, so for the last 20 years, data centers were built with standard types of servers, x86, 2-socket servers, 2U servers, and just, massive, rows of these at about 10 kilowatts per rack. AI training servers can use up to 16 GPUs or graphic processing units. They also use CPUs. They also use data processing units. So the power profile for AI servers is much greater and denser. So we're adapting or having to adapt the data center designs from around 10 kilowatts per rack to right now with the current NVIDIA processors to 70 kilowatts per rack. And we have, partnership with NVIDIA. People think NVIDIA is just a GPU company, but they also make the server boards, they make the servers, and then now they have super pods, which are basically AI clusters. And they rely on companies like Schneider. We have a partnership with them to do the reference designs for those clusters. So we have, if you want to deploy one of these super pods or clusters, we have 4 different versions of power and cooling systems that you could use to deploy those. And with the next generation Blackwell coming out, the densities are going to go even higher. And as those come out, we have reference designs to accompany those systems as well.
I mean, you're hearing all about the Blackwell, and that partnership with NVIDIA is so critical to what's ahead when it comes to AI and GPUs. Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, it's definitely a partnership. They're really pushing the envelope on horsepower for training these models. And, as they push it, they need rely on companies like Schneider to be able to make it seamless for integration and also for deployment of these clusters.
Yeah. I mean, overall, where do you see AI's role in the future of digital infrastructure? What's your predictions for what's ahead?
Yeah, AI is the new technology wave, the last technology wave, the internet had a dramatic effect on how everything
remember
changed.
that.
But AI has an equally transformative effect, and it's actually the working processes that are going to be affected.
Mhm.
So AI is going to be used to streamline a lot of the things that we do today. It's right now it's being positioned more like, oh, it'll do the mundane task and free people up to do the more advanced and creative work.
Right.
But in the future, AI is going to be able to automate a lot of the processes that are being done by individuals right now. And we're seeing medical, we're seeing government, we're seeing manufacturing start to implement these. We're really at the beginning of this rollout. The human brain took over 3 million years to evolve. AI is based on the way the human brain operates. So people, expect this to happen overnight, and it's going to take a more of a marathon than a sprint. I see it as it rolls out to different applications and different industries.
Right. So we're just turning that first lap there.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for those insights. Now let's talk a little bit about Schneider's collaboration with utilities.
So, Schneider, does not make, power generation equipment.
Right.
And we are in the middle of the data center operators and the utilities. So data center operators, as they search for more power and need permitting for their data centers, they're looking for partners to help source that power and also negotiate with utilities. So what's happening in the industry to receive a data center permit, you have to be able to have a relationship that's really puts the data center as part of the ecosystem. Mm-hmm. So most utilities have enough power. It's only, a day or two or a couple of weeks per year where they may be having peak demand. So the collaboration with the data center operators is the data centers all have long-term backup solutions. So by offloading that load from the utility, it frees up power for, cooling systems, heating systems that people need. So going forward, it's going to be more of a technical collaboration as they start sharing more and more data. And eventually the whole thing will be automated. And the data centers, as they implement more long-term backup power. Right now they have generators. They're going to have battery storage systems. They're going to have fuel cells. Right. So they're going to have all of these power systems that are going to need to collaborate with the utilities as one.
Definitely, that's critical collaboration, especially in this lap of AI here, and as it continues to grow and become, more of a priority each and every day for not just the data center industry, but the world.
For the world, exactly.
Absolutely. Is there anything else that you would like to add today, Stephen?
No, I think, that's a great conversation. I think, data centers, as a whole are also being used to decarbonize other industries and AI. So transportation, buildings, manufacturing, even energy. You are using and deploying AI algorithms to lower carbon emissions and to optimize water usage as well. So it's and today, a few days ago, the UK actually classified data centers as critical infrastructure. So I think we're, the world is slowly starting to learn that without data centers, this kind of digital economy doesn't function.
Yeah. Without data centers, there's nothing anymore. I mean, we have nothing. We have no phones, no communication, right. No AI. Right. So the data centers, like you said, the UK announced that it's a critical infrastructure, and it certainly is. And the fact that there's so much happening to even become more efficient and sustainable when it comes to greener data, and just as a industry as a whole, becoming more sustainable is so critical today.
Exactly.
Well, good luck on your panel, Stephen.
No, thank you.
We're excited to hear some of those key takeaways. We'll be checking back in with you for sure. And where can viewers go to learn more about Schneider Electric?
Well, you go to our website, schneiderelectric.com. You could go to our LinkedIn page. Schneider has a lot of sustainability content and data center content. You can go to our AI page on Schneider Electric as well. And you could go to LinkedIn as well for all of our information of our latest thought leadership content.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Stephen. Definitely a thought leader in our industry today. And thank you, viewers, for tuning in to another episode of JSA TV live from DCD Connect London. Stay curious, stay connected, and happy networking.
Yeah, the chapter that I've written is about painting the right picture around business cases, particularly around sustainability business cases. And the most important part is that we see regularly when we're talking to customers about how business cases are presented to the C-suite and how a lot of them sometimes really don't get across and be approved. There's a very common case where no is one of the easiest answers that comes back from the senior management team. So the purpose of the chapter is to really break down what makes a really good business case and hopefully enables the reader to understand how they can structure it to make sure that they do get the approval. Key points and key takeaways from those things are about knowing the future of your business and really forward scanning the market to really help the C-suites understand how their environment is changing and why the business case can really help the organization move forward. Second more important point is around really knowing your numbers. It's very easy to assume that sustainability business case is all about carbon reduction, but ultimately it's about making sure that you really know the numbers because it really needs to make a financial benefit into the organization as well as an environmental benefit as well. And then one of the most important parts of delivering a sustainability business case is about making sure that you use the right language. Within the world of sustainability, we're very good at making sure that it all gets very complicated, and therefore only the ones that are involved in the markets really understand all the abbreviations, etc. And making sure that you want to really get your business case approved means that you really need to simplify the language and make sure it is absolutely crystal clear on what you're requesting and the timelines that you're looking for the paybacks to be presented to the business as well. So those are the three key takeaways from the chapter.
Yeah, sure. So in a world where data centers, data in particular, and digital infrastructure is becoming part and parcel of our daily lives, it's critical that we start to look at how we harness the power of technology and greener data to combat the environmental topics that we have today. So the focus of the chapter is really around how we look into the new technologies coming into this space, how we accelerate the application of AI platforms to make sure that we reduce energy usage, emissions and waste through using new technologies like liquid cooling. Perhaps, Rob, if I hand over to you now, you could take us through the detail of the chapters and the different topics we touch on.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Yeah, so our chapter focuses on some key areas, and they include the adoption of renewable energy and energy storage and its role there. We talk about smart grids and microgrids of the data center. And then as we talked about the digitization of energy and then the role that data will play in improving our sustainability. And that data needs to be reflected in metrics and frameworks. And this is something that we've at Schneider have talked about for a number of years of creating a standard framework to be able to measure and make continuous improvements. And the conversation would not be complete unless we talked about AI's impact in the data center and then key technologies it's pulling along like liquid cooling and its effect on sustainability.
Yeah, so our chapter is about how data centers can actually be used to solve potentially UN SDG 6, people not having access to water, and UN SDG 7, people not having access to electricity, by thinking outside of the box and placing them, as I mentioned in the introduction, in emerging market rural areas, these micro data centers that are powered by solar. So really the chapter just kind of goes into how we sort of came to the idea then also some of the trials and tribulations of being an early stage startup relying on a brand new technology like Starlink, and what are some of the early outcomes of our initial prototypes and projects. And finally, the most important is how we see this scaling up and what this will look like in the future.
Sure, the EchoSense chapter is on accelerating data center sustainability journeys. And we spent many years developing innovative energy efficiency solutions for data centers. So it's exciting for me, and I have to say long overdue, to see data center sustainability and the whole greener data center movement start to get some real momentum. Key takeaways from the chapter. It really is around data center workload is only going one way, and that was long before obviously the much heralded AI deployments and the huge growth coming down the pipe from AI. But it's a challenge, so balancing this unprecedented, almost once in a lifetime workload growth against non-negotiable energy efficiency programs is just a massive challenge for the whole industry. So we look at ways how you can balance this huge growth while still delivering on energy efficiency programs. And it's just vital that you have the right tools, the right processes to make informed decisions based on very real-time data sets that deliver ultimately tangible deliverables to make energy efficiency savings.
Welcome back to JSA TV, where we're covering the latest stories, trends, and innovations from leaders in the digital infrastructure industry, live from London, here at DCD Connect. And joining me today, we have two very powerful thought leaders. We have David Watkins. He is the Solutions Director at Vertus Data Centers, and Peter Miles. Peter is the Client Director at Vertus Data Centers. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning for having us.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you guys here today, live from London on JSA TV. So, Peter, why don't we start with you? You have been expanding across Europe and the UK. Can you tell us about your growth strategy?
Sure, absolutely. We have in operation or in construction 300 megawatts of IT load in the UK. Last year, we ventured into Europe and are developing 300 megawatts of IT load in Berlin across 2 campus sites, and currently looking to start a new project in Milan and Madrid. So big plans to support the massive growth that we're seeing with AI and the broader IT industry. So very exciting times and a lot going on.
Yes, there's definitely a lot going on in the data center industry, especially when it relates to AI and the significant growth there. So David, why don't we talk a little bit more while we're talking about AI? Tell us a little bit more about some of the major changes in data processing and how Vertus is ensuring that data centers are AI ready.
So our existing sites, we already support quite dense deployments, but what AI brings is a compute and a power density that you can't support just with air. So we're looking at the designs of our sites now. We're adapting them, both the existing sites we have and our future design philosophies to support the massively increased power density that AI is going to bring with it. It's a change. It's changing the boundaries of where we deliver the service to the customer, but it's something we're very excited about and spending a lot of time doing at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, we're super excited about it too. AI is everywhere, and it's definitely one of the hottest topics here on the conference floor and across the world, really, and especially for our industry, which brings me to this next question, Peter. Liquid cooling and its importance in this whole AI era.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's changing the dynamic of the way operators are building their data centers. To Dave's point, there are different pressures put on the cooling elements of it. So we as operators have got to build sites that meet the requirements of the liquid cooling, but at the same time, we've got to accommodate the broader requirements of market as well. So it's a fine balance between, hedging to accommodate the demands of AI, but also the huge market that exists with data sovereignty and all these other elements as well. So it's not a straightforward build a liquid cooled data center. It's build a data center that's ready for liquid cooling. More importantly, just build a data center that's ready for what's in front of us.
Definitely, because the requirements are seriously changing.
Absolutely, and the pressures on rack densities. I think we're delivering rack densities up to sort of 170 a kilowatt, which is a far cry from our first data center, which in 2011, which would have been about 3.68 kilowatts a rack. So you can see the massive curve that's happened there. So
I think the other point on that's really important is we've come from a world where we're building data centers to certain standards that are common and well known both by the operators and the customers. We're in a world now where it's changing very quickly, and there's not the certainty on what we need to build, and also more importantly what our customers are actually asking us for. So there's a careful period that we're in now, because it's important we don't over-engineer and don't overbuild for what's actually needed. But I think in maybe a year or so's time, we'll be back more towards the other way, where the requirements are better understood. But everything's developing very quickly, and we're all running to catch up.
It's evolving, so quickly, and they also need to be super scalable, right? But what does that look like in a few years from now? We're not sure.
Well, I think we certainly got visibility of the scale. I think scale brings huge amounts of investment, and the quantums we're talking about now, they're eye-watering. So hence, when you are building a data center, and there's always an element of speculation. The sort of numbers we're talking about to build. Our campus in Brandenburg is, I think it's starting at 3 billion. Okay, and it's not the sort of project you can get wrong or be glib with in design. Right. So it's really, really important to understand what's happening today, but kind of be prepared for what's happening in 24 months, because really, everything's moving so fast.
So fast.
Yeah.
And that brings me to this last question, which I would love to get your input on. Things are just moving so fast, especially when it comes to AI. Where do you see AI's role in the future of the digital infrastructure industry? Let's start with you.
I think it's a huge opportunity. One of the challenges that we've faced, not just in the UK, but in other countries around the world, is historically data centers have been clustered in certain locations in various different countries. One of the opportunities that AI gives is these huge, large learning models don't need to be close to the source of use while they're just sat whirring away learning in the background. So it gives us an opportunity to develop elsewhere in country, where power maybe is less constrained. It'll bring inward investment into areas maybe that wouldn't be expecting that type of investment, more jobs, more skills. I think it's a huge opportunity for the industry.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things it's probably triggered is the acknowledgement of the importance of the data center. I mean, the government last week announced that it was including it in the critical infrastructure list for the UK. So that in itself is an indication as to the importance of it. But the underlying thing with AI is these are hugely power hungry environments. I mean, you just have to look at, I think a ChatGPT search is about 10 times. It uses 10 times more power than a Google search. Okay, so you can see just in that very example that there's a huge increase. So underlying that is sustainability. So where's the power coming from? The power that we buy now is and the sites we invest in, it's all coming from direct renewable sources. But even building sites, even things like cement, and the carbon that exists in that, and solving for those problems, because power is only one element. But sustainability will be the key driver in allowing AI to grow because of the sheer intensity of the power.
Yeah, to reach its fullest potential.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. I mean, we wrote the book here on sustainability with greener data. So many thought leaders there contributing to what sustainability will mean to the future here of our industry. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No, other than it's an exciting time. We're proud to be part of the industry, thank you very much for having us.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you. And for viewers that want to learn more, go to virtusdatacenters.com, right?
That's the place.
That's right. And viewers, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of JSA TV, live from London here at DCD Connect London. I'm Buffy Harakitas signing off for JSA. Stay curious, stay connected, and happy networking.
Hi, I'm Rob Bunger with Schneider Electric, and I'm the innovation product owner within the CTO office, which looks after our data center segment.
And hello everyone, my name is Mark Garner. I'm the Senior Vice President for our Secure Power division here in Europe and France. Yeah, sure. So in a world where data centers, data in particular, and digital infrastructure is becoming part and parcel of our daily lives, it's critical that we start to look at how we harness the power of technology and greener data to combat the environmental topics that we have today. So the focus of the chapter is really around how we look into the new technologies coming into this space, how we accelerate the application of AI platforms to make sure that we reduce energy usage, emissions and waste through using new technologies like liquid cooling. Perhaps, Rob, if I hand over to you now, you could take us through the detail of the chapters and the different topics we touch on.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Yeah, so our chapter focuses on some key areas, and they include the adoption of renewable energy and energy storage and its role there. We talk about smart grids and microgrids of the data center. And then as we talked about the digitization of energy and then the role that data will play in improving our sustainability. And that data needs to be reflected in metrics and frameworks. And this is something that we've at Schneider have talked about for a number of years, of creating a standard framework to be able to measure and make continuous improvements. And the conversation would not be complete unless we talked about AI's impact in the data center, and then key technologies it's pulling along, like liquid cooling, and its effect on sustainability.
Yeah, a number of different aspects really. First and foremost, Schneider Electric is a global leader in digital transformation and energy management. We are truly focused around the sustainability agenda and have been so for many years now. So it felt really important with such an important book like Greener Data to ensure that Schneider Electric was involved in the book and contributing to it. The other aspect though is to my first point, data is a part of our daily lives, whether it's what we do at work, what we do at home, what our children are doing. Data is around us everywhere now, and it's only going to become more and more commonplace. So greener data and developing a greener data infrastructure is going to be critical to the future of our communities and our lives. Increasing awareness around the data center industry and the greening of data center is something that's very close to my heart. Having been in the industry now for 5 or 6 years, it's very important to me that we bring it to more people and make more people aware of what the data center industry contributes to our daily lives.
Yeah, and I'll add that we are glad to be recognized leader for sustainable development. But I think recent years have been a stark reminder that there's a lot more work to be done. And with the greener data, bringing together industry leaders to discuss how digital infrastructure organizations are combating climate change, it really is a natural fit for our organization, and we're proud to contribute. With only 10 years to achieve the Paris Agreement and limit temperature rise to 1.5, all organizations need to accelerate their sustainability. So if we're able to push that along a little bit faster, it's something we firmly believe in here at Schneider Electric.
Yeah, so AI is obviously the topic on everyone's mind at the moment, but AI will change the way data centers are designed, built, and operated in the foreseeable future. It's going to put more onus on sustainability demands in data centers. The estimation we have here at Schneider Electric is that AI workloads is going to represent somewhere between 15 to 20% of total data center energy by 2028. That's a significant amount, so we need to design our AI data centers with sustainability in mind, making sure that it's there and ready to support our future.
Yeah, I fully agree, Mark. And AI is forcing us to really rethink how we design data centers. We've already seen, new ways to do things, and although we say it's 15 to 20%, these new ways to do it are highly sustainable and will proliferate across all types of data centers. So we do see it currently as a challenge on how do we tackle things, these high densities and liquid cooling, but ultimately a real opportunity to make the whole industry efficient and sustainable.
Welcome back to JSA TV, where we're covering the latest stories, trends, and innovations from leaders in the digital infrastructure industry, live from London at DCD Connect London. Joining me today, we have Michael Akinla.
Yes.
He is from Panduit, and he is the business manager of Central Europe. Welcome, Michael.
Great to be here.
Yes, it's absolutely, the floor is buzzing. I was just looking over the balcony.
It is busy.
It's super busy here at DCD Connect London. So many people are attending the session that's happening right downstairs talking about sustainability.
Huge
so
topic.
Why don't we start with this topic here? Sustainability is obviously a critical focus for data centers worldwide. How is Panduit integrating sustainable practices into its solutions?
Thank you, Buffy. A step-by-step process. So from our perspective, hugely important from a sustainability point of view, but we are a huge manufacturer of these infrastructure solutions. So everything we do behind the scenes is key to ensuring that we lower our carbon footprint. So we have 9 factories. We're looking at carbon neutrality across the footprint, and we're looking at different ways of how we can improve the packaging. We can combine in terms of pre-configured solutions. So everything we can do to get as much into that infrastructure delivered to these cloud AI type environments helps reduce the packaging, reducing the carbon footprint of what they are going for. And if you look at the Scope 3 requirements in terms of how we have EPDs, environmental product declaration components, we can actually give you a calculated carbon footprint number on the infrastructure that we make that gets delivered into the environments that are being deployed in these wonderful sites across the globe.
That's definitely such an important topic and a focus for this industry. And so happy to hear all that you're doing to support that. And as the latest generation of processing technologies places these demands on physical infrastructure, how is Panduit addressing infrastructure densification challenges?
Well, it's an exciting challenge. From a Panduit point of view, it's a mission we choose to accept. You know, at the end of the day, we are hugely experienced, and that's the key word, experienced, in the cable management area. So as densification increases and you're looking at these wonderful topologies that are being deployed, whether it be a Hopper or a Blackwell system from NVIDIA, it's just a huge amount of structure cabling that's going into these environments. So we have to have very succinct ways of dealing with those structure cabling elements. We provide the plumbing that makes all this wonderful technology works, and we have to make sure that we manage that properly. So whether it be from taking good records of the patches that are in these environments from the GPUs through to the actual leaf switches, it's hugely important to understand what's patched to where. So we have Rapid ID that essentially gives you that information so that you can understand how that system is deployed and you can track it, audit, etc., going forward into the future. So densification is key, and it's hugely important that you manage, understand, and record what's where, going to where, and make sure that the pathways align and safely run.
It's definitely critically important.
It is.
And so is data center topologies. It's rapidly changing to meet these growing demands of environments. How can you explain the benefits of these new topologies and how you're helping data centers adapt?
We learn every day.
Yeah.
You know, these topologies have changed over the years. You know, from going north-south, we're now spending a lot of time going east to west. And if you look at these topologies from a spine and leaf perspective, you know, every single GPU now within the actual server itself is connected to a leaf section. That leaf is then connected to a spine section. And what that means is it's created a hugely important push for latency and speed. So it's a simplification. You look at these topologies, Buffy, and there are lines on the map everywhere. So that means that these GPUs or the traffic can choose multiple routes, a buffet of different routes that it can get to the path and section it wants to get to. So by improving those routes, you improve speed, latency, and expandability. So if we want to grow in terms of scale, because every single GPU is connected to every single leaf, all you have to worry about are your spines, and you can throw in more spines and you can increase your scalability. So these networks, hugely more efficient going forward now.
And they have to be, right?
They have to be.
Because scalability is everything.
Very much so.
In today's world, especially with AI and all of these technologies that are just making it even more of a challenge today. So
absolutely.
Thank you for sharing that insight. And lastly, I'd like to ask you a little bit more about the sustainability approach or innovation that you think will have the greatest impact on the digital infrastructure industry and why.
It's a good question. So when I look at what we read and what we do and what we're seeing, a lot of the energy that's being consumed in these wonderful buildings that offer, let's be frank, huge efficiencies to society as a whole, but a lot of the energy buffet is being consumed in the server. So I would say probably about 55 to 60% of everything goes into that server. So the more efficient you can make those servers, the better you're going to get down the line in terms of sustainability. So I think on-chip liquid cooling seems to be the buzz at the moment. And, with the servers as they're being deployed at the moment, if you can improve the efficiency of that running process, I think you will get huge gains from a sustainability point of view. So I think that's going to be a big changer, especially with the demand for processing. The more activities that are being run in these wonderful AI environments, these cloud environments, you're going to find that these servers are basically wanting to work like, dynamos, basically. So you have to find a way of cooling them down. And on-chip cooling, I think, is going to be a huge aspect of how that operates going forward in the future.
Yeah, I agree with you. On-chip is liquid cooling is definitely going to be a game changer as we continue to require more power.
Indeed.
Yeah. So, Michael, thank you so much for joining me
it's
today
been wonderful
here
to be
on
here.
JSA TV. Is there anything you want to add?
From our perspective, Panduit is hugely thinking about this. So we have a huge amount of experience in terms of what we're doing with these wonderful topologies that are coming out. So rely on the experience, come talk to us, find your local Panduit person, wherever it may be in the globe, and we'll be there to pass on that knowledge that we have and hopefully learn from you as well.
Yeah, well, you are here today. So if you are at the show, please do find Michael to learn more about Panduit. And if they're not and they want to check you guys out online, where can they go?
www.panduit.com is where we are.
Michael, such a pleasure to
Wonderful
have you
to be
today.
here.
Thank you for providing such great insight to our viewers watching live here on JSA TV. And viewers, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of JSA TV, live from London at DCD Connect. I'm Buffy Harakitas signing off for JSA. Stay curious, stay connected, and happy networking.